Bud Light Lime, you love to see it. Okay, so the year this time is 1916. Picture this. You're at the saloon with your pals, crack open a few Bud Light Limes, then after a little while you hop on your horse, head back to the stable. Your buddy Ezekiel turns to you and says, "Hey, you remember that movie that was incredibly racist called The Birth of a Nation? Well, they're dropping the sequel. It's called The Fall of a Nation. Let's watch it."
Sequel. What is this sequel he speaks of? Is a sequel.
And that's right, this was the first time that the word sequel had ever been used in this context before. I mean, I'm sure that Shakespeare had his Romeo and Juliet Infinity War, or Hamlet Never Go Back, I don't know. But in film, The Fall of a Nation is actually the first film sequel ever made. And of course, as we all know, this would become a huge staple in Hollywood today. It almost feels like there are more sequels than there are original movies. I don't know how that's possible, because you have to have an original to create a sequel, but that's how it feels sometimes. I mean, there's a sequel for everything out there. We have, what, like 2,800 Marvel movies? They made a sequel to Trolls, which wasn't good in the first place. There's that new Bad Boys movie called Bad Boys for Life, and then they're gonna make a sequel to that called Bad Boys for Life. That's where they all have 4 lives. But people really like to argue about sequels. You know, not just what sequel is better than the other, but what makes a sequel good. What is a true sequel, you might say. And there are many ways to approach a sequel, not just in genre, but I actually mean approach, like how close are you going to play it to the original, or are you going to do something completely different? And there are 2 examples that I wanted to talk about today. One is a movie, and one is a video game. And these 2 pieces of entertainment are 22 Jump Street, and you guessed it, The Last of Us Part 2. You didn't guess it. You had no idea I was talking about this. These 2 pieces of entertainment are completely different. And not because one is a comedy and one is a drama, or because one is a video game and one is a movie, but because 22 Jump Street is essentially a remake of 21 Jump Street. I mean, think about it. Like, 22 Jump Street is more of a remake of 21 Jump Street than 21 Jump Street is a remake of 21 Jump Street. Like, for real. 21 Jump Street is about a couple of misfit cops who have to go undercover to infiltrate a bunch of drug dealers at the school they're attending and then find the supplier. 22 Jump Street is about a couple of misfit cops. You know, I'm just gonna play the exact same clip that I just played. A couple of misfit cops who have to go undercover to infiltrate a bunch of drug dealers at the school they're attending. You get the idea. Where look at The Last of Us, which is about a father whose daughter gets killed at the brink of an apocalypse, and he has to suffer through all this guilt and regret, and he's alone for many years, and then out of nowhere, this young girl that reminds him of his daughter comes into his life, and throughout the game they start to bond and form a relationship that was similar to what he had with his daughter. And you find out at the end of the game that not only does this girl Ellie have the cure within her, but by saving humanity she will have to die. And at the end of the first Last of Us, Joel has a choice to make. He can either let Ellie die and save humanity, or he can keep the one thing in his life that is still precious to him and let humanity suffer. Like every good father would, he of course let humanity suffer. But that was a really interesting dynamic, not only because of that amazing storyline, but because Ellie literally had no idea that she would have died and that she would have been the hero that saved the world. And so, as fans, we were really anticipating to see that dynamic go further. We were waiting to see Ellie learn about what Joel did in the first one. And spoilers for The Last of Us 2, Joel dies in like the first hour of this game. Like, The Last of Us 2 is not about Joel and Ellie. The Last of Us 2 is about guilt and revenge and hatred and murder and watching your closest friends die. The game has nothing to do with a father-daughter relationship, about growing closer, growing apart. It's all centered around Ellie and her girlfriend and this really big-ass girl who looks like The Rock. And in my humble opinion, I think it is one of the best games of the year. I think a big complaint I hear about 22 Jump Street is that it is essentially a remake of the first one, and that takes away a ton of rewatchability, where people love 21 Jump Street because it felt original and new, and 22 Jump Street was essentially the same thing over again. And then you have The Last of Us 2, which the big complaint that I have heard is that The Last of Us 2 doesn't feel like The Last of Us 2. It feels like The Last of Us 3. And at times it does feel like there was this entire game missing in between the first and second one, which is a completely valid complaint, but when you're writing a story, you have to focus on the character stories that you want to tell. And you can't be worried with any preconceived expectations that any of the fans have. And I think that's why I really love The Last of Us 2. And I don't hate 22 Jump Street. I actually like 22 Jump Street better than the first film. So I wanted to throw it to you guys. What do you think a true sequel is? Is it something that stays close to the beats of its predecessor? Or do you think it's something more like The Last of Us 2 that completely detracts from what its original did? For me personally, I like something more in the middle that takes elements from its predecessor, but completely changes up the structure of the new story it's trying to tell. I think some really good examples are pretty obvious: The Dark Knight, The Empire Strikes Back, but I'm really curious as to what you guys think. And if this video feels like a sequel to the director's cut video, that's because it sort of is. My next video is going to be a little different. I don't really know what's going on because of COVID, but in like 3 days I'm supposed to be leaving for Argentina, so we'll see if that happens. By the time this is up, I should be gone. Hopefully I am. And my next video is going to be sort of a vlog about that trip, and then we're going to get back to movies the week after. So I'm going to try something new in the next discussion video. I'm thinking about doing a movie pitch with the green screen and everything, so I think that would be a lot of fun. So thank y'all for watching, and please, if you do feel inclined, I would really appreciate if you shared the video. I don't get a ton of shares, so I would really appreciate that. And yeah, that'll do it. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all next week.
You're such an asshole.
I'm not trying to.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
My name is Jeff.